So, welcome back to Saxy Rod Shop. So we got this little, technically 54 Chevy pickup that's been in here for a little bit of repair work, and it was having an issue with the shifter. And this is a Lokar shifter, so what somebody has done before this customer bought it is they decided to heat the Nostalgia shift arm to give it some more bend, and they probably did that to help clear the dash because they didn't realize that the shifter plates where on the actual transmission, there's slotted holes, so this can be adjusted up to a certain amount of degrees. So when they heated and bent this, it put the inner cable in a bind and it has actually broke. So pushing the button, the shifter didn't work. So what we've done is we've got him a new shifter that's not bent. The cable goes in and out like it should, but it's a two-piece deal, so we're having to put this all back together, but they've made a change. Prior to 3 years ago, which this is 2024, this piece was crimped on the inner cable, and they made a change to make it easier for changing shift arms if you wanted to go to shorter or longer shift arms. So that's what I'm doing right now is I'm assembling all of this. We got to put all this back together in here, and then there'll be what they call a little lathe dog. That's the only lathe. A little dog leg that goes in here, like so. And we got to lube all this up, bolt all this back together. But that goes up and down when you push on your cable, and that's what's going to lock in and out of our gear. So we're just actually trying to repair the gentleman's shifter and get it back working. He had a park, sort of kind of a reverse, and almost a drive. He was just lucky that it was going from one gear to the other. So when we get done, he'll end up with all the gears. We've cleaned it. We will adjust it to help clear his dash and his AC and stuff. So we run into this kind of stuff all the time. So just be cautious. If they would have wanted that bent, they would have bent it. But if you do bend it, like he did, or somebody did, this inner cable has a plastic and a plastic inner and outer lining. So more than likely what's happened partially is they heated that and melted that cable to the inside of that shaft. But even if it wasn't melted to it, this would never work because this straight won't go up and down past that. So that's what we're doing right now. So we run into stuff like that all the time. So once we get it back together, we'll show it working and functioning.
Take it out for a drive.
Take it out for a quick drive and go from there. Okay, so we got this all back together, as you can see. And this is the side that goes to the driver's side because our shift arm that is still down in the hole, hold on here, this has to go on it after we get it all back together. But what I was talking about just a second ago, the adjustment slots, you can see those slotted holes, and that gives it some adjustment. And the neat thing about these Lokar shifters, theoretically, that one of their initial advertisement points was one shifter bracket and you had like nearly 12 mounting positions. And so you can see how this bracket, get my light down in here, make it easier to see. Maybe. So you can see how that bracket is angled back. Well, you can take this bracket and turn it around over to this side, so that gains you, in relation to the bolt holes, a few other positions, locating points. And then there's these 2 bolt holes that are threaded, that main bracket. You can see another bolt hole and another bolt way up in there. So there's like 6 of those. So you've got, this bracket can go in any of those bolt holes in either direction. They probably don't tell you all that in the instructions anymore to keep from confusing people. But that means that this shifter can be mounted in multiple locations to fit your seat clearance or your dash. This one here has got this under dash AC. So that's kind of what one of the nice benefits about this. We've been selling these shifters since oh my gosh, since the mid 80s, since they first went in business. Skip and Debbie were working out of their house, I believe, making this stuff in their 2-car garage initially. So anyway, let's get it mounted and we'll go from there. Okay, so we got the 2 bolts in on both sides. Had to crawl underneath of it to do this back side. They're loose right at the moment. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the stick and inner cable in it and then adjust this. It's tight right now, but we'll adjust this to give us the clearance we should need. Now, I did tell the customer that when it's in the car, clearance up here to go in park is more critical than clearance here against the seat to go in low gear. You just don't really drive these cars, you know, starting off in low and manually shifting it into second. So our critical thing is to be able to go into park, reverse, neutral, and drive for now. He's planning on changing the AC system in this. This one doesn't even work at the moment. And we'll go from there. So we're getting ready to start putting the handle in it. We'll get that adjusted and then we'll continue on. So we got the shifter in. We still got to cut the inner cable to length and make sure that we're pushing it all correctly. But what I ended up doing is I moved everything, as you can see, to the back of the slot, which rolls the shifter closer to the dash. But it looks like if that's the park position and we push all the way down and then we go, so we can get probably all the way into low gear. It's a 3-speed, it's a turbo 350. So if that's the case, there was no reason for them to have bent that. As you can see, still got a full length shifter arm. And that should be park right there. So now we just got to fish the lever arm, make sure the transmission's in park. We'll grease that up a little bit, slide that on, verify it goes in and out of the gear in each detent, and then put the shifter boot back on it. We'll come up here and measure for that and then cut that to length and we'll be done. All in a day's job. Something else we got to do is, you can see the shifter arm here, and they just didn't cut enough. It's hard to see. Didn't cut enough hole in the floor to make it serviceable in case you ever had to work on it. So we're gonna die grind that hole out just a little bit to get this arm on. I have the transmission in park, shifters in park, so we want to get this on there. Their linkage underneath, I'll try to crawl under there and get a picture of it. They just used some all thread and bent it, so there's really no adjustment on that. So this is what they had for a shifter rod between the shift arm and the transmission. And as you can see here, we're going to put the right arm on it. They had this pointing straight down, had a homemade arm on it, and was only getting just a couple of gears. But to put the arm on it like we're supposed to, I got to go in and open the floor up quite a bit more to allow this clearance back here. There's only clearance for it to come straight down. So this is what you get when you have these people doing stuff that really, just because they got a toolbox doesn't mean they're a hot rod shop. So what we're going to do is we're going to get in here and we got to open this hole up way back here. We got to come back at least probably 3/4 of an inch to get that arm to go on there like it should. So stay tuned. So before I finished, I wanted to show you, before we put all of our stuff up and got ready to go drive this truck, I wanted to show y'all right quick what they had for a shift linkage. So this is what was on the car. Just a piece of all thread with a union in the middle. This is the end that went to the transmission, and then just had a nut on it. And we run into that all the time. So we put the correct Lokar on it with the Heim joints on each end. Gives us some adjustment. The correct Lokar end for the transmission. Again, here you see where they had bent it, pre-bent it. This is what was still sticking, should be still down inside the shift mechanism. Of course, when they did all that, it bound it up and broke it off. But let's go out here in the truck. So we have this, we put the same arm in it, but with the correct adjustments that we showed you, we got plenty of dash clearance. Before, with this old bent arm, it didn't have enough dash clearance, and the shift knob was like right at the dash, which it shouldn't have been that way. But now, let me put my foot on the brake. And so we're in park, reverse, neutral, drive. It goes all the way into low gear and just touches the seat. So just with paying attention, reading the instructions, and installing it correct, and then got the boot installed. So the customer's going to do the majority of the work on this truck. We're just going to help him through it and walk him through it. This is his first vehicle, first old car, and he's very proud of it, which he should be. So he's got an adventure ahead of him. But as you can see, it's going to be a pretty neat little deal. UPS showing up, bringing us hopefully more goodies. So we're going to go drive this car here in a second. side plates all out of whack, out of adjustment. No wiring to the neutral safety switch, which right now we still have that done. It's not wired up. That's going to be one of the customers to do self-do things for him. He's going to learn, teach himself how to do that stuff. First car, he's wanting to do as much of it as he can. We told him we would walk him through anything that he had issue-wise. So we're just going to go on a nice little drive. He's got a good start for a nice project. Got a light green. There's a lot of it, but it's not a bad color. But he's enjoying it, having a good time. It's decent, it drives nice. Holy smokes. That's got to be 120 degrees. Maybe not that hot, but it's hot. Passing the shooting range, that's what you heard there. The gun range down at the bottom next to the creek. Got the boot all on. Customers' plans are eventually to redo some of the interior, maybe the carpet at least. I think he's going to get the transmission rebuilt. We have the windows down, unfortunately, because his AC's not working. Matter of fact, he said his wife told him that's the next thing on the list. Now that he's got past the brakes and shift mechanism. Sweat's even sweating. Make a right-hand turn here. Kind of just going to make a big loop. Brakes they're not soft, but they're not rock hard either. But we put an 8-inch dual booster on here. We notched the frame rail just a little bit. We used the TCI total cost involved brake pedal assembly with a CPP dual master cylinder, the Corvette style master cylinder, and put all that on there. He had said it's been dying on him a little bit when he comes to stop, so but
Yeah.
Well, we made it back. We made it back. So, wanted to say thanks for y'all joining us on this adventure fixing this gentleman's truck. And please hit the like button and the subscribe button. And thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.